Today I'll show you the correct recipe for P.F. Chang's legendary chicken lettuce wraps. We'll go over the precise ingredients they use at the restaurant, I'll reveal the signature umami sauce recipe that makes their chicken so savory, and I'll show you how to make P.F. Chang's special dipping sauce from scratch. Now, this is a surprisingly simple dish to make, but there are a lot of components and sauces, so I'll walk you through each step and we'll assemble all the necessary building blocks before the final cooking. First up is the umami sauce. And P.F. Chang's uses this to flavor the chicken meat and give it a deep, rich savoriness. It's very simple to make, but before we get started, I'll give you a super quick rundown of the exact ingredients you'll need for the sauce. For the rice wine, P.F. Chang's uses a style called michiu. This is a very popular choice for cooking wine in many Cantonese and Taiwanese kitchens. It's very similar to the more popular Shaoxing wine, and while there are some subtle differences flavor-wise, they are essentially interchangeable. You should be able to find michiu at most Asian grocery stores, and it is available on Amazon, but if you're not able to locate it, just grab a bottle of Shaoxing. For the oyster sauce, P.F. Chang's uses Lee Kum Kee Panda brand oyster flavored sauce in the green bottle. And this is the gluten-free version with no added MSG. All of Lee Kum Kee's oyster sauces are fit for human consumption, but if you're able to find their premium oyster sauce, the one with the picturesque scene of a mother and son serenely gathering a harvest of oversized oysters in the Chinese countryside on the label, this is the one I recommend. To color the sauce, P.F. Chang's uses Lee Kum Kee's mushroom-flavored dark soy sauce. If you're not familiar with dark soy sauce, it's typically added to dishes more for color and less for flavor, but mushroom soy sauce has the added benefit of mushroom seasoning for extra savoriness. You should be able to find some version of a mushroom soy sauce at most Asian grocery stores. To make the umami sauce, let's start by adding 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce to a small bowl. Then toss in 1 tablespoon of michiu cooking wine, 1 tablespoon of mushroom dark soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of white sugar, and 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Whisk until the sugar is totally dissolved, and this is it. This is the savory sauce P.F. Chang's uses to flavor the chicken for their lettuce wraps. Then transfer the sauce to a covered container and you can store it in the fridge for up to a week. Next up is the sauce they serve with the lettuce wraps. This is a variation of P.F. Chang's pot sticker sauce they call special sauce. Later in the video, I'll also show you how to make their house-made chili oil and the hot mustard sauce. But before that, let me show you a couple of special ingredients we'll need to make the special sauce correctly. The first is Chinese hot mustard, and you should be able to find this at most grocery stores. It'll come in little bottles like these, and you can use it straight out of the jar. At the restaurant, they use a powdered version like this one from S&B, and to prepare it, you'll need to mix equal parts mustard powder with cold water and let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. And always remember with Chinese hot mustard powder, the longer it sits, the hotter it gets. And after it's reconstituted, you can use this just like the prepared version. Next up is chili garlic sauce. The exact brand P.F. Chang's uses is Hoi Fong. And I want you to notice, you'll often find this condiment loitering next to its meddling cousin, sambal olek. Either will work fine for the special sauce. They're essentially the same product, with the only difference being that chili garlic sauce has garlic and sambal olek does not. We'll also need to pick up a bottle of unseasoned rice vinegar. If you've ever wondered what the difference is between seasoned and unseasoned rice vinegar, essentially it's just that the seasoned variety has salt and sugar, whereas the unseasoned version does not. And finally, for the exact soy sauce used at the restaurant, pick up a bottle of Lee Kum Kee's low-sodium soy sauce in the green bottle. Now, to make the special sauce, let's start with 5 teaspoons of white sugar in a small pot. Then add 1/4 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of light soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of unseasoned rice vinegar, 2 teaspoons of chili garlic sauce, and 2 teaspoons of Chinese hot mustard. Then turn the heat on to medium and continue whisking until you've achieved a light simmer and all the sugar has totally dissolved. Then turn off the heat and allow the sauce to cool to room temperature before using. And you can keep the special sauce in a covered container in the fridge for up to a week. For the meat, P.F. Chang's uses ground chicken, and you should be able to find this at most grocery stores. If you can't, ground turkey also works well. One of the things a lot of online lettuce wrap recipes miss is the addition of rehydrated shiitake mushrooms to the chicken mixture. I think this is because the umami sauce makes the chicken so dark they don't see it, but they're definitely there. And you'll be able to find dried shiitake mushrooms at most Asian grocery stores. They'll come in bags like these. We'll need to reconstitute them in hot water before using, so to get started, place the mushrooms in a small bowl and cover with hot water for about 20 to 30 minutes. Then drain the mushrooms and gently squeeze them to remove the excess water. Cut off the stems, which can be kind of tough, then roughly chop the mushrooms into small chunks and set them aside. To complete the chicken mixture, we'll also need water chestnuts. This will add a nice fresh crunch to the lettuce wraps. And you should be able to find water chestnuts at most grocery stores in little cans like these. I always get the ones that say sliced, and you'll just need to drain and roughly chop them into little pieces like these. And you can store the chopped chestnuts in a covered container in the fridge for up to a week. To cook the chicken, let's start with some neutral oil in a large pot over medium-high heat. Once you're up to temp, add 8 ounces of ground chicken. And you'll really want to cook the chicken until it's totally done, breaking it up along the way with your spatula or a potato masher. You want really small pieces of chicken and not big chunks. About 2 to 3 minutes before the chicken is done, add 2 tablespoons of chopped water chestnuts and 2 tablespoons of chopped rehydrated shiitake mushrooms. Cook until the chicken mixture is totally done, then remove it from the heat and allow it to cool to room temperature before using. And you can make this a day or two in advance. Just make sure to keep it refrigerated the entire time. For the lettuce, what you want to look for is whole iceberg lettuce. To prepare it, you'll simply remove the outer layers, which tend to be kind of limp and droopy, then make a cut directly down the middle of the lettuce, cutting it in half. Now take each half and cut them lengthwise into quarters. Then take each quarter and remove the core of the lettuce like this. If you've ever tried to make lettuce wraps and had difficulty getting nice uniform cups, what you want to do is peel the outer layers of the lettuce off under cold running water. For some reason, this makes it much easier to peel them off in whole layers. We'll really only be using the outer leaves, so you can save the inner core of the lettuce for a salad or whatever. And one of the things they do at the restaurant is to shock the lettuce in ice water for about 30 minutes. This really perks up the leaves and keeps them crunchier for much longer. And just make sure to dry them off before using. You can keep the lettuce in large Ziploc bags lined with paper towels like this in the fridge for about 5 to 7 days. Now, for the rice sticks, these are just rice noodles that have been deep fried so they puff up to look like packing material. They're really easy to make, but there are a couple of things you'll need to get right to do it correctly. First off, at most Asian grocery stores, you'll find these labeled as rice vermicelli, rice sticks, or mi fun. They're all variations of the same thing, thin rice noodles, but I've consistently gotten the best results with 3 Ladies brand Vietnamese rice vermicelli in the medium size. To make them at home, let's start by heating our oil to 425 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And I know this seems very hot, but if you fry rice noodles at lower temperatures, they tend not to puff up as quickly, which causes them to absorb a lot of oil and turn a weird shade of brown. So make sure you're using a high smoke point oil. Then take your bunches of rice noodles and pull the strands apart. Now tear each of these smaller batches into about 1-inch sticks like this. Because they puff up so much during the cooking, you want to make sure you're doing this in very small batches. When you're up to temp, toss in a small handful of the rice noodle pieces and they should puff up immediately. This cooking process typically takes just a few seconds. Then remove them from the oil to drain on a baking sheet lined with paper towels. And once these are cooled off, you should be able to store them in a covered container at room temperature for a couple of days. For the final cooking, you want to make sure you have all your ingredients assembled beforehand. Because the meat is already cooked, the final dish comes together in a matter of just a couple of minutes. And we'll go over everything you need while we're making it, but before we start, I need to tell you about a couple of specialty ingredients we'll need to make this dish correctly. The first is dehydrated minced garlic. And you should be able to find this at most grocery stores in the spice aisle. This is minced garlic that has been dried so it has no moisture in it. But why does P.F. Chang's use this special type of garlic? Firstly, it doesn't burn and stick to the hot pans as easily as fresh garlic. And secondly, it offers a slightly smoother and more concentrated garlic flavor. To prepare it, you'll just need to reconstitute it in hot water for about 20 to 30 minutes and then drain it of all the water before using. And you can keep this in the fridge for about a week and use it anytime you need minced garlic. And the last specialty ingredient we'll need is sesame oil. P.F. Chang's uses this as a finishing oil because of its rich, nutty flavor. You'll see several different types at most Asian grocery stores, but what you want to look for is pure sesame oil. If you can only find toasted sesame oil, that will work, but the brand P.F. Chang's uses is Lee Kum Kee pure sesame oil. Now, to start the cooking, let's heat some neutral oil in a wok over medium-high heat. When you're up to temp, toss in 1 teaspoon of the rehydrated garlic and cook for about 10 to 15 seconds. Then add 2 tablespoons of chopped scallion whites and 8 ounces of the prepared chicken mixture. Cook for about 30 seconds or just until the chicken is heated through. Then toss in a 1/4 cup of the umami sauce, stir it into the chicken mixture until it's totally absorbed, usually about 30 to 45 seconds. Then sprinkle in 1 teaspoon of the sesame oil around the rim of the wok and stir it into the chicken. Now kill the heat. To serve, you'll simply prepare a plate with some rice noodles, iceberg lettuce wedges, and the special sauce. Then spoon the chicken mixture over the rice noodles, and this is it. This is the actual recipe for P.F. Chang's legendary lettuce wraps. Now, very quickly before our taste test, I want to show you how to make the other 2 sauces usually served tableside at P.F. Chang's. For the hot mustard sauce, all you'll do is take 4 parts of prepared hot Chinese mustard and 1 part white vinegar and mix them together. Then you'll thin it out with a bit of water to get the right consistency. It should be slightly runny. And that's it for the hot mustard sauce. Super easy. Secondly, for the chili oil, this is also easy to make, but it's a bit more involved and it requires a few specialty ingredients. So the first thing you'll need is Szechuan chili flakes. You'll often find these labeled as Szechuan chili powder. What you want to look for is a Chinese pepper that has been crushed so it still has pieces of actual pepper in it. It's not totally a powder, in other words. And it will come in bags like these. And the last specialty ingredient we'll need is dried Chinese black beans. And please note, these are not the same thing as dried black beans you'll find in a Western grocery store. These are actually salted and dried black soybeans. They have a sort of funky umami flavor that's hard to describe. They're the main ingredient in the very popular black bean sauce. They'll come in little bags like these, and they shouldn't be hard. They should be slightly squishy when you pinch them between your fingers. Now, to start the chili oil, add 1/2 cup of neutral frying oil to a small pot. Then toss in 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of Szechuan chili flakes, 1 tablespoon of rough chopped Chinese black beans, 1/2 teaspoon of rehydrated minced garlic, and 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. Then turn your heat on to medium and bring your oil up to between 200 to 225 degrees Fahrenheit. And you probably want to use a thermometer for this because getting the right temperature is crucial in making a good chili oil. When you're up to temp, you want to maintain it at between 200 to 225 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. After the time is up, slightly increase the heat to 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes, monitoring the heat and stirring occasionally. Then remove the chili oil from the heat and allow it to sit uncovered for at least 6 to 8 hours, or preferably overnight, to allow the flavors to infuse into the oil. It's important that you don't cover this sauce while it's cooling off because moisture can ruin the oil. To finish, you'll strain the chili oil through a fine mesh strainer lined with cheesecloth. And you can keep the chili oil in a covered container at room temperature for up to 2 weeks. And if you want to customize the special sauce from earlier like they do tableside at P.F. Chang's, all you'll do is add hot mustard sauce or chili garlic sauce in whatever proportion you see fit. And you can use the homemade chili oil, white vinegar, and soy sauce for additional seasoning. All right, back to the taste test. I can see why this is the most popular dish at P.F. Chang's. I know it seems like a lot of work, but if you prep everything in advance, the actual cooking time is just a couple of minutes. And if you'd like to learn the secrets behind P.F. Chang's spicy chicken, make sure to check out this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.